Special thanks for special music. Wonderful. You can come back next week. Yes, it's a blessing to run out of bulletins. Back in this little English parish that Karen and I attend regularly when we're over there visiting the granddaughters, humble little Methodist church in this little village, there's no such thing as a Sunday bulletin. You just come to church and you sit down, and they do have the hymn numbers up here on the board behind the worship leader, but pretty much that's non-stop work for the worship leader. I like this kind better. You know how long you've been sitting here? Very restful. It's a delight to see all of you, and we're looking forward to many more days of summer after this one. But let's get down to business. It says right here, where cripples go to die. Ahead of that, these scriptures. Joel describing the day of the Lord, the eschatological occurrence. I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Then yet another eschatological vision is sent onto the field of play, and it reads like this. The wolf shall lie down with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the kid, the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the mouth of the serpent. The weaned child shall put its hand into the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain. For the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And again from New Dream Fields, perhaps the most memorable encapsulation. And the 12 gates are 12 pearls. Each of the gates is a single pearl, and the street of the city is pure gold, transparent as glass. So this morning, Joel, that's lead off. He sets the method, proclaiming the coming of dreams and visions. And then we have Isaiah and John, that second and third. They are the visionaries who reach back into dream states and generate these vivid images of what God holds in store for God's creation at the end of time, at the eschaton. Imaginative attempts to describe a changeless perfection that we look forward to, that we anticipate. Isaiah sees the end of conflict. Those who were enemies in creation or in prior times are at peace with one another. And those who are most vulnerable, the little children, are no longer at risk. And for John, heavenly perfection is billed as such a place where you find pearly gates and city streets paved with gold. Well, I want to introduce a new player today, batting cleanup, another literary visionary who ventures a homier, simpler rendition of divinely ordained perfection. The story begins with the young rebel who bolted from his home in Brooklyn, headed for the happening place, college in Berkeley, the high days of protests and flowers and freedoms. And there he met his dream girl. Marriage followed, and then to satisfy her, a move back to her familial roots in Iowa. Then the drudging practicality of a life insurance sales job until the day when he met the oldest living Chicago Cub on the streets of Iowa City. A man who needed to rent out his farm. A little help here, please. Merely a quarter section. So New York rebel through Berkeley heydays yields this quixotic chap who knows nothing about farming, but who is desperate to leave off the insurance biz. So immediately they rent the farm, and soon they borrow to buy the farm. Now, as the movie, which you may have recognized already, cuts to the opening live-action scene, the late summer evening is heavy with Iowa humidity. Ever been there? Andy and little daughter Karen are on the porch swing of their classic white Midwestern farm home. And like God strolling through the Garden of Eden for the breezes of the day, our hero Ray is strolling through his cornfield. Now the breezes rustling the leaves together make him uncertain whether he heard a voice. But there it is, and we all hear it. Like the omniscient Greek chorus back here foretelling the action of the story, if you build it, he will come. The movie Field of Dreams may provide a happy reference point for us today because, yes indeed, this is summer, baseball is in the air, thank you. And the movie has become a cultural phenomenon. And fortunately, it is replete with theological themes, including the parable of alienation and reconciliation between the father, John Kinsella, his son, Ray Kinsella. And the author, W.P. Kinsella, was surely intent to include the father-daughter relationship in this next generation. If you build it, he will come. He, of course, being Shoeless Joe Jackson, one of the greatest ball players of all time. Joseph Jefferson Jackson, born Brandon Mills, South Carolina, 1887, died Greenville, South Carolina, 1951. And as Ray Kinsella, the non-farmer who loved his farm, began to plow under his cropland paved with gold for a ball field, he carried his precious little daughter Karen on his lap, astride the tractor, teaching her the same lore that his father had imparted to him as a child, stories about John Kinsella's hero, Shoeless Joe. Why, Shoeless Joe holds the top all-time rookie year batting average of .408. He is third in lifetime batting average at .456. Little Karen. Babe Ruth said that Shoeless Joe was the most natural hitter he ever saw, which is why he patterned his swing after Shoeless Joe. And Ty Cobb called Shoeless Joe the best left fielder of all time. Hitters were unfortunate. If they launched one into left field, the man could turn on a dime and run like a deer to the far corners of his territory. So fantastic were his exploits that the sports writer of the era, Carter Latimer, wrote, "Joe Jackson's glove is where triples go to die." Little Karen soaks all this in from her favorite perch, snuggled in Dad's lap. Well, she shares the workday with him. She's being initiated into the ancient society and trusted with a special lore. This is not skull and bones, it's just baseball. But it's father and daughter bonding together. You can all recall your bonding experiences with your own parents. What activities you shared that drew you closer, that knit your relationship together. And parents, now you can think of your children or grandchildren, nieces or nephews, and what experiences you've had with them. Many. We tried to attend all their events, didn't we? And the projects were endless, weren't they? Scouts, 4-H, science fair, school projects of all kinds. Fortunately, in a way, when you see it in the right light, one day my son Jeremy, sitting out here this morning, came home from his 7th grade English class with an assignment. I don't think the brow was furrowed, but this needed some work. To write a short biography of a contemporary author. Pick your author, research the material, and bring me back a paper. So, the task was before us. We hopped into the car, headed down to Mimi Dowd Eisenhower Library in Broomfield, and started combing the research volumes that the teacher had given all the students. Nothing there. Big Zippo, big zero for W.P. Kinsella, who had written the book Shoeless Joe that preceded the movie Field of Dreams. A book, by the way, that had been recommended to us by whom? Yes, you guessed it, Biff Warren. Charlie loved it. And he loved the opportunity to research this guy and didn't want to switch to somebody else. A little bit crestfallen. What shall we do? Think. Jeremy, how about an interview? What are you talking about? Let's see if we can call the guy. So we drove home. I surfed the internet, and lo and behold, found this home telephone number, supposedly, for W.P. Kinsella in some remote outpost outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. Jeremy prepares his list of questions, thinks how he's going to conduct this interview, not expecting to have one, of course, and dials the number. Oh, it's an answering machine. But he says, I'm Jeremy Jaeger, I'm 7th grade, I'm Broomfield, Colorado. If you've ever heard of it or never, I have this assignment. Could you help me out with the call back, please? An hour later, the phone rings. I answer. Here's this man says, is Jeremy there? The nicest conversation flows back and forth for 10 to 15 minutes. Jeremy exhausts his questions. Everything's wonderful. We're done here. And he takes a very surprising paper back to that teacher. It was remarkable. And who would ever expect that? Amazing. What a hero. Just like Shoeless Joe, what a hero. He models his own characters in his own life, and it was spectacular. It was a bonding opportunity for us, and the kind of thing that what you do remember for a long time, if not all your life. Here's little Karen, who's soaking all this in. Ray, for his part, of course, bonded with his father through this baseball war. They had this enthusiasm for the fine points of the game. But whereas John Kinsella, the father, had always talked about taking his son to a major league game, it just never happened. There was always something to do. Work, money was short, and it was spent on something else. It never happened. So in large part, Ray needed to find his dream in this homegrown baseball field that he was preparing all by himself, because he felt to a large extent that he was turning into the image of his father, who he thought had never allowed himself a moment of whimsical spontaneity. Ray and father, it turns out, had parted company with too much left undone, unsaid, undone. When he had charged off to Berkeley across the country, there was an angry parting, and before they ever got back together, the father died. And they never had a chance to mend this relationship, to bring it to its natural fulfillment. The relationship left hanging. A little child shall lead them, says the scripture. And Karen, in this story, is true to her prophetic calling, because she has the capacity of creative imagination. Something we could all use, and probably more of it than we have. She can readily believe in the improbable. So just when mom and dad are about to turn rational and to turn the ball field back into corn dollars, Karen rescues the moment. Believing is seeking. Here as often. Daddy, there's a man in your field. So Ray walks out to the field to meet this character, Shoeless Joe. No introductions necessary. He knows who he's talking to. With few words, the bonding begins. Fly balls to left, followed by batting practice. Oh yeah, Joe was a low ball hitter. And as the evening comes to an end, Joe, who has been marveling constantly at this beautiful ballpark in the middle of this stately cornfield, pauses to ask the memorable question that harkens back to our tradition's Dreamfields scriptures. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. Now the others who were banished from baseball with Joe and that Black Sox 1919 scandal would also like to play here. Well, they would be welcome. So in the next day's bright sun, they begin to materialize from the cornfield, drifting out here into left center. And they're like shades from another world who have remained tethered to this world by their unfulfilled destiny. To play baseball, to finish their natural careers, to finish what they started. Here they are fulfilled. Heaven then? What more would heaven be? To telescope the action greatly, the story goes in search of multiple reconciliations and unfulfilled destinies. The voice drives Ray first to kidnap J.D. Salinger so he can ease his pain. J.D. Salinger in the book becomes the character Terrence Mann in the movie, played by James Earl Jones. And then the two of them go the distance to Chisholm, Minnesota, before returning to the farm, which is about to be repossessed for non-payment of mortgage. Mystery and magic have danced together throughout this journey, deepening the story at every turn. The game resumes upon their return. More players than ever. It's a field day. Laughter and joy abound until darkness looms in the form of the mortgage holder, who is oblivious to the fullness of life around him because in this field of dreams only believers can see the action. The unbelievers, apparently shortchanged of dreams and visions, inhabit a mundane world, a non-heaven that is clouded only by dollar signs. Simon Legree waves the paper in front of Ray's face. If you sign over this farm, you still get to live on it. Otherwise, we foreclose. Two conclusions. And your daughters shall prophesy. Daddy, you don't have to sell the farm. People will come. People will come. And of course, from these words has issued the cultural phenomenon with which we're all familiar. Because now, if you build it, they will come, has entered every public works stadium project in the country for the past 30 years. And I dare say many local church capital campaigns as well. And in the voice that only he can muster, should I semi-try this? In the voice that only he can muster, James Earl Jones catches the vision. Yes, she's right. People will come, Ray. They will come from all over the country. They will come to Iowa for reasons they can't even fathom. They have money. They lack peace. They will come to your field of dreams, and they will feel as if they have dipped themselves in magic waters. He joined the prophets because fantasy has become fact. For decades now, pilgrims have been driving to 28963 Lansing Road, Dyersville, Iowa, to dip themselves in these magic waters, to watch or to play ball on this field with their family, with people they've never seen before. And beyond doubt, while we sit here at this very moment, you and I, this morning, there is another congregation of faithful mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters who are gathered right there in Dyersville on that field to ignore the worries of tomorrow, to celebrate the life of today in its fullness. And if these are people who might be in conflict on a work day, on this acceptable day of the Lord, they fulfill Isaiah's vision. Everything is a peaceful kingdom. Second conclusion, possibly closer to home. In this dream world, the last player to leave the field is the catcher, who has extra time to take to get out of his gear, And when he takes off the mask, here appears the dashing young man. Before he was weighted down by the cares of the world, the Irish-American father that Ray had never known or simply never realized. Joe Jackson had just been a stand-in, after all. If you build it, a place in your heart for openness and acceptance, where people who you know, who you find, who matters to you, where people can find their natural fulfillment. People you might have presumed against, quite possibly for a lack of understanding. If you build this place in your heart, he or she or they will come. In the story at least, reconciliation flows. And it might very well for us also, even if this is a work of imagination that we achieve in our best dreams. The Father, having found a reconciliation with his Son, a newfound peace wonders aloud, is this heaven? And at first Ray answers again, no, this is Iowa. But then he asks his father, who might have a reason to know, is there a heaven? And Father responds, oh yes. Heaven is the place where dreams come true. Then we see the wheels turning as Ray shifts his silent gaze from one primal element to the other, to the three things, the core elements that constitute his life, the priorities that make all the difference. His workspace, the field, his home, and then we focus in on his family, Annie and Karen sitting on the porch swing, laughing. What more should heaven be? And the vision, the revelation, begins to take hold. And the words arise softly. Maybe this is heaven. Amen.